Welcome to the new IT. I'm Bobby Glenn James, one of the hosts, owner of Boteca IT Services, where we do IT service support. And with me today
is Brad Anderson, owner and founder of Tech Bridge. We help bridge the gap between business and employee.
And we're here to talk about the new IT. What's going on in the world of IT hiring, of learning new things, getting what's out there, all of that good stuff. We're talking about the new IT. We believe that it's changing. It's always been changing. IT has been this crazy fun ride. I say it keeps my ADD in check because it's always changing and doing more new things. So, and we believe that it's even changing bigger and more than it ever has. And so,
absolutely, it's growing like it never has before. I mean, things are getting more siloed. You're starting to see technology kind of come out and break off in different areas. So it's an exciting time.
It is. It really is exciting. And what are we going to talk about today in the new IT? What do we? Because of COVID and all this, we've been through this about a year now. Things have changed a little bit, and one of the biggest changes is
working remotely.
We're out there. People aren't going into the office, and it doesn't look like that's going to stop tomorrow.
Nope.
So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about remote and what that means in the IT world and just kind of in the world in general, because it's interesting, and give our 2 cents, right, Brad?
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
Cool. So who's going to start? I got some questions. We're doing something a little different today. We've got some questions that we're not going over together, so who knows what we're going to...
Exactly.
We found that every time we get together and we talk about questions, we have this real fun engagement, and we're like, well, let's just do this on the show.
Yeah, let's do it on the fly. Let's see how it works.
Yeah.
So, cool. I will start. So my first question to you is, why would a company hire a remote employee? What is the benefits for them to doing that?
Wow. Okay. This is first time hearing this question. Well, for one, they don't have to have an office. You don't have to put them somewhere, which is kind of cool. Office space or even, business space is kind of a premium, right? And it costs money.
It does.
That's quite a bit of money that you don't have to pay out if you look at the scheme of things. Just in space, not hardware, because they probably most companies
you can ship them a laptop or whatever you need.
You give them a laptop and all that good stuff, and just all that it entails to be there, taking care of them, watching over them, all of that stuff. I think when they're remote, they're not a liability on premise. Does that, you know what I mean? They hurt their foot.
You're limiting your
if
liabilities.
If they break their foot in their house, isn't that
technically on them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but if you spill some hot coffee on yourself at work, then maybe that's a different thing, right? So I think and from a security standpoint, yes, there's a hole, when you have somebody working remotely and they have to come in, but if they're using a VPN and stuff like that, and if you can put things in place that when somebody is at work, they have more ability to mess things up. Let's just say that.
Okay.
They are a hole inside the building, and if they bring in a USB key that has a virus that their buddy's friend found in the street somewhere, then you're done. Right?
Okay. No, that makes sense.
So I think security-wise, it's actually in some ways a little more secure not to have them in the building.
No, I mean, I see why you say that. That can make sense. I mean, knowing that if you're setting it up properly, from what I'm understanding, by creating that VPN network,
mm-hmm.
you're making that situation, your remote session secure, so that way it is more secure than, like you said, than having somebody bring in a thumb drive or something.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just if you put the right things in place, you kind of shore up some holes that you might have and not think about if you're on premise.
So, well, let me ask you this. I mean, do you think most companies are doing that then? Because I mean, if you're a small to medium sized business, I don't know if you're taking those precautions.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that difficult. You just don't use like RDP. You should not like RDP straight into you. You should be using a VPN or
Okay.
some other service that encrypts the traffic. Now, we've used some stuff like LogMeIn or some other things where it's an outside third party thing that still has encrypted traffic though. So it's
Got it.
a little more secure. And then if you RDP in, then of course, or not RDP, but if you do some kind of remote service, then you have the hardware there, and you don't hardly need anything at your house.
Okay.
Your whole phone and everything is on that machine.
From a security standpoint, I wasn't sure if having remote employees would actually be more secure or not. So
Yeah.
from what it sounds like it would actually be.
Well, and most people think it's not because you're coming from the outside and you have to make a hole to come from the outside.
Correct.
But if it's a VPN, it's not really much of a hole. It's not like traffic can see you. Just the internet can see that traffic. It's tunneled.
It's limited.
So
Yeah.
the only other thing though is when they're at home, you can't stop them from doing things. But truthfully, you can't stop them from doing things in their office either. You
That's
can't
true.
stop
You really
them
can't.
with clicking on this, that, or the other. And if they bring a USB key into the office or something, I think that's more of a security risk. Just because at home, I mean, they should have virus protection on there. They should have something that would see that drive. But God, security is a crazy. Yeah, security is a crazy thing. Everybody will tell you something different. Everybody will tell you that no, this is what you need to do to be secure. If you ever go to a security, I've been to not thousands, but lots of security conferences and all these different security things. And every time I go, it makes me feel like I just want to turn my computer off and never turn it on.
Right.
You're not safe no matter who you are or what you are.
Well,
no
there's
matter
always
how
going to
smart
be
you
that
are.
danger there. I mean, it's just part of the internet. I mean,
Yeah. So is it better? No, but I think I personally think being remote is better for the company in the fact that they don't have that person there that could.
No, and I agree with you. I mean, I think that quite honestly, remote is the new way of the workforce. I think that especially from the IT perspective,
That
people can do their work remotely, and as long as they're doing it in a secure manner, it really doesn't matter where you're doing it from.
Doesn't that leads me to my question is, so should an IT person be able to expect to get an IT job and work 100% from home? Is that a thing yet, or is it in the future? Is that something that me as an IT person, I could work 100% from home and make my six-figure salary?
Yeah, I mean, right now technically you can do it because we are in COVID, but over the past couple of years we have seen that trend become more and more the way that it is going. I mean, we are having people be remote, be 100% remote.
I know 15 years ago in the corporate world, I remember guys saying all the time, dude, I could do this from home.
You could.
I don't, and even they would pitch it sometimes, and everybody was like, "No, you can't work.
Right.
That's ridiculous. You can't work." But we would always like, dude, everything, my calls, we remote into everything back then. Even back then, 15 years ago, we could have worked from home and
absolutely.
connected to everything because there were VPNs back then, and so.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. Working from home is fantastic, and that is the way things are going. But how much personal connection are you losing because we're not in the office
Well, we're
anymore?
IT guys. We don't care about personal.
Well,
No, I'm just
yeah, I mean,
kidding.
from the IT side, yeah, I get it. But you've got to build those teams and you got to build that camaraderie. So you can do that through remote, but
Not the same.
it's not the same.
It's just
really
not. I speak at events and used to go to different things, and during the pandemic, I've spoke at a few things, online things, and let's face it is not the
not the
same.
same. No.
The energy from it, you're watching it on the screen, you're not paying attention half the time. Somebody's bugging you. You're at home, you go to get some coffee or whatever. It's not the same, and I'm assuming it's kind of not going to be the same for you working.
No, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, having said that, I think companies need to figure this out. I still think that COVID did bring it to the forefront that we need to think about it in a more rapid pace than we ever have.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think we need to figure it out, and we need to figure out what it is, how we want to manage our employees being remote. Some of the things that I coach my clients on is make sure that you're checking in with them on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Have team meetings. Get them to try to collaborate as much as you can.
Don't just leave them out there hanging.
No, you never
to
want to
do
leave them
their
out.
own to do their own
No.
own thing. You should absolutely, just like you would meet weekly in the office, you should absolutely do that, and not just one
Absolutely.
person one-on-one, but
Yeah,
have
bring the whole team
the
together.
whole team in.
If you have a team of 5 or 10 or 20, get them on a Zoom call. Get them meeting virtually, so that way they can still connect and have those relationships. We are people after all, and we do crave it, that human connection. So if we can't get it in person, the next best thing is virtually.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Can I ask another question? You
Yeah,
cool with that?
absolutely.
So can they be as effective and productive? Can they be as effective and productive offsite at home? I mean, the collective seems to be no, you can't. And I want to know what Brad thinks.
Yes, I mean, the collective is no, but quite honestly, it really just depends on the employee. It depends on their
Like
drive,
any
their
time.
their determination. If somebody's motivated, if somebody has that go-getter mentality, they're gonna do just fine in the remote work environment. In fact, they may actually flourish and do even more because they don't have to worry about mundane meetings that they would have to do in the office. So it can be effective, but again, it just depends on the personality of the person. Now, like we kind of just reiterated, we want to make sure that you're having those team meetings, because if you're setting your team up for success by having those team meetings and creating that collaboration, it's just going to be like business as usual, and they're just going to do what they have to do.
Yeah. So you think in the long run, I mean, depending on the person, you can be as effective.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in some cases, I think you can be even more effective.
Yeah. Why do you say that? I'm curious about why would it be? Is it because you're just comfortable? Is it because people are leaving you alone and you can just do your work?
Well, I mean,
what do you think?
I speak from personal experience. I mean, working from home, I almost feel like I have to do more. I have to prove that I'm working more, because I feel like because I'm working from home, there's the stigma that, oh, well, he's not getting any work done. Well, in fact, I want to prove myself even more, so I have to say, well, I need to do more. So I find myself, when I do work from home,
Interesting.
I actually do more.
That's because you've got that kind of mentality now.
Yes.
And I guess you have crappy employees and you have good employees, and it doesn't matter if they're working from home or it comes down to the hiring process.
Well, not only hiring process. Yes. I mean,
you've got to vet them.
Absolutely, you do, but it also has to, through that vetting process, you've got to figure out how much determination do these candidates have? Are they worth it? Do they go the extra mile? Are they dedicated? What projects have they taken on? Again, talking about schooling, things of that nature. Do they complete what they start? So those are questions that you got to do through the vetting process. And and as recruiters, we often say it's not the answers that we're looking on. It's what's between the answers of what needs to be looked at.
I like it. Interesting.
So let me ask you this. What should a company look for when hiring a remote employee? I mean, I know we kind of talked about it, but I want to get your take. What should a company look for from an IT standpoint when they're looking for an IT remote employee?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I haven't really thought about it, that it would be any different. Would I look to hire somebody differently if they were remote or if they were in-house? Would I look? And I've never really thought of it. Now that you've asked the question, that's interesting.
Kind of think, right?
Because I'm like, wait a minute, would I? Do they need to dress nice? Well, no.
Well,
but
most IT people don't. But.
Exactly. It's just strewn with Mountain Dew and
exactly
and Legos.
Right. Maybe some Cheetos in there.
Yeah, maybe some Cheetos in there. Ah, jeez. Okay, that's it. We've lost all of our listeners.
Right.
We just pissed them off. No. Or they identify with us. So,
Either or.
Yeah, I think that is, I've never thought that would be a different way of thinking. And I know now that we mention it, I've in just here during the pandemic have done some hiring that we knew were full-time offsite, and I actually have never even met the person in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I can say the same thing. I mean, we've had some people on contracts to where the client hasn't even met the person. I mean, they've met him virtually, but they've never, had lunch with them or taken him out to coffee or anything like that.
That is interesting. I do. So it is different, and so what? But is there something I would look for more because of remote than I wouldn't if they were? And I can't think of. I want a good employee, like we just talked about. I want a go-getter that's going to go take initiative and do stuff. And I guess if anything during the hiring process, I would want to see that, some initiative, and this is what I've done in the past, and this is how I've overachieved. And because the key with working from home is you don't have all of the things that push you to do stuff when you're in an office.
Agreed.
Just having your boss over there with his door cracked open a little makes you
kind of holds some accountability for you to say, "Oh, I need to make sure I get this done."
Yeah, it makes me think of like online colleges now. I've known a few people that have done some, and some people that are like, I couldn't do it because I didn't have the drive. Because they basically, in the online colleges, they give you classwork and then you just get it done.
Yeah.
And maybe you have somebody that watches over an instructor or something, but for the most part, it's up to you to get it done. You don't go to a class every day and, the instructor tells you what to do.
Right.
So some people can't do that.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, through that hiring process, since you did hire somebody being remote, did you change what you were looking for when you were hiring him, or did you ask him any different questions to kind of offset maybe some of those questions that you're kind of having?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think I kind of looked at it the exact same way, and I take my time when I hire people. I do several different interviews. Usually, I'll take them to lunch, not with this person, and just kind of really try to understand and get to know the person before. I just do not hire quickly.
Okay.
In my in the industry, I really want to kind of understand that person's personality a little bit and make sure that they're a part of the culture that I'm trying to create. So for me, that's really, really important. Maybe for other IT services stuff, maybe not. But for me, it's really important.
So what would you value more, skills or culture? A culture fit.
I can teach skills. I can get people to get certifications if they're smart enough to have a little bit. I can teach them that. I can't. It's harder to teach interpersonal stuff. It's a lot harder to teach you how to be a go-getter or how to take initiative. That's something that's a lot harder to teach than how to build an Exchange server or connect to the cloud or that stuff I can teach. And so to me, it's much more important to fit my culture, much more, because in the long run, if they don't fit your culture, then they won't be there very long anyway.
Agreed.
So in the hiring process, for me, I don't think there's much of a difference between remote or if they're going to be in-house. From my mindset, I want them to be a part of our. I look at it as a family. I know that's dorky and stuff, but
no, not at all.
I look at my company as my folks, my guys, my people that work with me. They know how much I care about them, and they're more than just an employee or a number.
Well, and quite honestly, that's what most candidates are looking for. They're looking for that company that is willing to make them feel a part of, a family or give them more than just a job. Most people don't want just a job. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that do just want the job, and especially on the IT and the software engineering side, you have people that see that they're in high demand, so they want to cash in while it's hot, so to speak. But for the most part, most people want to find a good company that has a solid culture, see room for growth, see where they can go with it, and just flourish.
True. With that said, do you think this working from home thing is legitimately the future, or is it a fad because because of COVID? I mean, is it eventually we're all going to go, okay, this kind of sucks. I mean, it was cool for a while to be at home and kick back, but now I kind of miss going to work.
Well, I think we're going to have a mix of both. I mean, I still think that we're going to have.
So you think it's never going to go back to the way it was?
Well, I think it will go back, but I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think we're going to go to where maybe 1 or 2 days a week people are in the office, or maybe they're working remotely. So I think 1 or 2 days a week people are going to be on-prem, and then you're going to be able to be able to work remotely the rest of the time. So I think there's going to be that need still. People still crave personal interaction. I mean, we're humans. We like to interact with people, and again, virtually is good, but it's not the same. So we're still going. I think there still is going to be that hybrid approach.
So interesting. Yeah,
So-
I tend to agree. I kind of feel like I'm hoping. I even though I'm in IT, been in IT 25 years, I do love people and connecting, and this stuff has killed me. I mean, I hate it. I like going to clients.
You need that
and
personal
connecting with the
interaction.
clients and being in an office. Luckily, you and me, where we have offices. We've had a community the whole time. We've had
Absolutely.
some peers and stuff to be around and connect with. So for me, that's been really, really good. I would hate the thought of us all being in our homes,
Right.
doing business. That saddens
I mean,
me.
it can be done, and it is being done. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
very fortunate where we live.
And maybe people thrive. Some people would thrive.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that would thrive doing that.
Well, and I think we're, quite honestly, I mean, I think we're in a good state to where we've managed the coronavirus really well. So we did shut down, but we were quick to get back up and running more than most other states.
Yeah, specifically
So-
Utah, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah. It's been an interesting to see the whole country and to see how Utah's reacted.
So speaking of that, I was actually on a call yesterday morning, and I actually found out that Utah they're the second state to post-COVID shutdowns to be able to have a positive unemployment rate, so or an increase in jobs. So we're starting to kick that trend of being able to not be employable or deal with the coronavirus a little bit quicker than most places.
That's cool. Wow, that's
That is,
very
right?
cool. Very cool.
So very,
Awesome.
very fortunate to be here.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, I mean, where do you see kind of remote work going? Do you think it's going to be more that norm? I mean, help me understand from your side. What are your clients telling you? What do you see?
Oh, yeah, that's a great. So now saying, what are my clients telling me? I had one president of a $20 million company say, I can't stand this bleepity blap. He's a pretty colorful individual, as you know, he's president. So yeah, some
enough.
of those folks are very colorful, and
They can
and he's
be.
like, I hate it. I want everybody in this building. Eventually, as soon as we can, we're bringing everybody back in. And so, boy, his take is he wants the relationship and the connection of being in the office. He really feels it's important. And a lot of my clients have not had it's been so interesting. This year, this year's been interesting for everybody, but most of them, they want some normalcy. They do not feel, and I'm surprised, not very many people are that excited or happy to think of just being at home, which I think is really interesting, especially
That
the
is
companies that my company supports. They don't like it. They don't want to be at home. Most of the people I know don't even like being at home that are at home. So
That's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. I don't know if that speaks to just where we're at geographically or what, but I mean,
True.
I still think that people do want to get back to the office, and I mean, I know we kind of touched upon this already, but I think companies are going to struggle. I mean, I know they need to bring their employees back and have that engagement, but I think they're also going to look at it from a cost perspective and say, is this really worth it? So I think that's where that hybrid approach is going to come into play.
That leads me to a question to you. So what do you think of the pros and cons is there pros and cons to the remote access? Is it
Yeah,
is it good?
I mean,
Is it bad? What do you think from your standpoint?
so we do have remote employees, and we do operate from a remote standpoint as well. So it can be effective, but from our standpoint, we need to make sure, again, we're trying to be more proactive than reactive. So we are meeting with our teams on a daily basis. We meet with them twice a day. We have a kickoff call in the morning. We have an end of the day meeting just to kind of go over everything, see how everybody's day went, and then we're kind of prepping for that next day. So from our standpoint, yeah, we're seeing it and we're trying to be more proactive to make sure that it can be used as a beneficial tool. So we would love to have everybody back in the office, but we understand that we can't.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting world that we live in now.
And it's an interesting time. I mean, who knows where we're going to be in 6 months? I mean, like we kind of already alluded to. I mean, I think we're very fortunate with where we live because we have an economy that is still thriving and is still continuing to grow. Couple that with the fact that our COVID cases are down and our vaccines are increasing.
Yep.
I think we're going to be one of the first ones to respond post-COVID really, really well.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. So what do you think? Any last words, last concept ideas for this episode of this working from home thing and
the
how
only
it
thing
affects IT?
Yeah, I mean the only thing I could say is remote is if you're looking for a specialized person or software engineer, remote options is a great options. But it really just boils down to what capabilities this person has. What are they able to bring to the table, not only from a technical standpoint, but can they be productive while working from home and being remote?
So pay attention when you're hiring.
Absolutely.
like with anything, that really hasn't changed. Like I said before, good employee, bad employee, you're still going to have those. Your best bet is to hire right the first time, whether they're remote or not. I mean, I think that's my takeaway is, especially since you asked me that question now, I don't think I see that much different. I want to hire a good employee, and I think they'll be a good employee whether they work in the office or if they work at home, or they won't. And I want to get those good employees.
Well, I mean, that's the goal. I mean, I think every company wants to hire those good employees.
Whether they work for home or not.
Exactly.
It's almost irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's possible. Sometimes it's not. I mean, that's where recruiting comes into play, and that's where recruiters come in. When you get somebody who's specialized, who knows how to look for those certain qualities that you're looking for, it definitely speeds up the hiring process, and that's where we're here to help you.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Cool. Well, this has been another episode of The New IT. We will see you next time when we talk about some other thing about the new IT. See you later.